Hello and welcome. My name is Kirsty and you are joining me on my allotment plot in Lincoln in the UK. It is a wonderful sunny Monday morning and it is going to be very hot. The birds are singing and it is just so delightful down here, and I know you've all been waiting, so I'm going to show you around my new allotment plot. When I decided that I wanted to leave my allotment plot and join forces with my dad, I knew that I had to bring a lot of equipment with me. And one big thing that I needed to bring with me was my shed. This is my power shed. It's a 6x12 shed and it's fantastic. It was one of the best things that I ever had on my allotment. And my dad's shed was rubbish. So my dad's shed has gone to another allotment plot holder and we moved this across. It was very eventful and it was cold and windy, but we got it moved. And as you can see, my dad has this lovely little area with a path, and it has all of his fruit trees that come over the top. So we've got a cherry tree, apple, pear, plum, and damson, I think. So my dad obviously had some well-established trees already on his plot, so that's excellent. I hope he doesn't mind, but I will be nicking the fruit from it. But this is the first little part of the plot tour. Now the allotment plot is kind of split into areas. We have some areas that are my dad's, some areas that are mine. However, we are going to be sort of sharing some of the stuff and we are going to be helping each other out. So this is the top of the plot. This is where the plot starts, and obviously, as you can see, my shed is sort of the second part down. But this top bit, we've got a couple of flower beds that my dad and my mum use. We've got another bed here with some lavender, but it hasn't really got any uses at the moment. There are some raspberries growing, so I think we're going to sort of let them take over and have some raspberries here. And then my dad built this awesome fruit cage, and he has got, well, enough gooseberries to supply a supermarket and strawberries. He loves gooseberries, so that was something that he built last year. And that's this area. And then what I've done is I've moved my beautiful rhubarb crowns just down here, just below the fruit trees. So this is sort of the fruit area. We've still got a few bits to tidy up, like that random chair. But obviously we've got some well-established gooseberry bushes, some raspberries, some rhubarb, and then the fruit trees. So it is such a nice little area, and all we need to do is give it a good weed because the bindweed is taking over. Now I'm back at the gate that I started the video at, but I've angled the camera so you can see down the plot. Now the next part of the allotment next to the shed is my little growing area, and I've got some of my veg trucks, my veggie pods, I've got some raised beds, I've got a little growing area in the ground, and I've of course got my wonderful Vitavia greenhouse that I've moved over. I've had this now for probably a good 6 or 7 years, and this is the second time that it was moved, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's gone back up with no problems. I did, however, come back to the plot in January time when it was still on my old plot to find that I had lost the roof in the storm. Now 2 panels were on, 2 were missing, and I was going to order some new panels for the top. And about a week later, somebody on the allotment site, obviously the panels had landed on their allotment and they decided to keep them and then figure out where they'd come from. So they were actually placed back on my allotment in my greenhouse in January-ish time, which was an absolute lifesaver. So I haven't had to replace the roof. It's all been fixed on, so I'm going to show you that area next. But this is my little growing area, my little allotment, and I'm super excited about it. Now you are meeting me halfway in my growing space. All I can think of is the Black Eyed Peas song, Can You Meet Me Halfway? I was going to sing you something, but I'll save your ears. So this is my wonderful Vitavia greenhouse. This is called Freya. I really hope I've got that right. I've had it for about 7 years. I was previously obviously gifted it. This was a long time ago, and it has been the most wonderful addition to my growing. I forgot what word I wanted, but my growing. I can't think of a word still. My growing. What I was trying to say is this has been a fantastic addition to my growing space, and we have taken this and put this up about 3 times now, and as you can see, it's still absolutely fantastic. The only thing that happened is we lost a small pane of glass. It was my dad's fault, but he did basically put it back together for me, so I can't really moan. And it is still in great working order. We've just got an extra bit of draft through it, which is fantastic because it is very, very hot. And as you can see, I have this lovely path that leads up to the greenhouse, and I am going to be growing all of my wonderful flowers in front of this space, which I think is going to look fantastic. I've got lots of dahlias that are going in. I'm a little bit behind sort of getting them started. I literally only soaked the tubers yesterday. I've got some sunflowers, I've got some dahlia that are grown from seed, and I'm going to be adding some like cornflowers, cosmos, and maybe some straw flowers as well. But this greenhouse is my pride and joy, and I absolutely love it. I have obviously cleaned it out, it's nice and sparkly, and inside has been swept out. Now I am going to be building all of my self-watering pots, and they are going to be going in here. So I will show you how I set up my greenhouse for growing tomatoes, because that's basically all I'm going to be growing in there. We're going to fill it to the brim with some wonderful self-watering planters that just make life so much easier. Now you are meeting me at the last area of my growing space. I still have some shared growing space to show you, but as you can see, we have got like a 2 by 2 meter ground growing area, which I'm probably going to put peas, runner beans, French beans, maybe some pumpkins and squash. And then we go over to this wood chipped area, barked area, and I have 4 of these wonderful metal raised beds. Now these were from B&Q last year in the sale. I know lots of people got them, and they're really, really good. So they've been filled up with some topsoil and some compost. I've placed some nasturtiums and strawberries in here. I've got some beetroot and radish and things growing, and then I've got my wonderful archway, which I'd like to grow some tromboncinos up this year, so keep an eye out for that. And then at the back, I've got my wonderful rain terrace water butt. Now, I luckily got this up just before we started having basically a drought, and that is filled up. And it's got these little pockets that go around the outside, and they're like self-watering, and I'm going to be putting flowers in those. So I'm going to probably put some like trailing nasturtiums and anything basically that the bees will like. And then at the back, hopefully you can see, I have some repurposed, recycled, reused bike wheels. Now these are on a wooden post, and then these are going to be used for things to grow up. So I'm maybe going to grow up some climbing French beans or cucumbers, whatever you want. But that is a great way to recycle. So this is the last part of like my growing area. Then I'm going to show you my dad's growing area. I am stealing one of his beds. I think he knows. Hopefully he can hear me because he's over there making his runner bean teepee. But I do need to nick one of his bed for some more pumpkins and squash, because they're my favourite things to grow. And then I'm going to show you where my beautiful roll top bathtub is, and obviously we have the polytunnel that we share. Now we are looking down to the bottom of the plot and the last part of the growing space. Now I'm going to be showing you my dad's growing areas, and then that's our polytunnel that we've always shared even when I've had my allotment. But as you can see, my dad has these wonderful 6 growing squares, that, or rectangles to be more precise, with paths in between that he created. It's very, very neat. And my dad's a little bit more old school with the way he gardens and allotments, and he has got these 6 growing spaces. Now I'm going to be nicking this back one here because I need to grow some more pumpkins and squash. However, it is very, very weedy, completely covered, so I need to give that a bit of a dig over and weed, because it's not been used for a while, and I'm going to put some more compost through that just to get it going. But it will kind of go no dig, and I'm probably just going to cover that in cardboard and mulch it at the end of the year. And that's my dad. He is just currently putting up his lovely little structure for his runner beans. They're one of his favourite things to grow. But this is his growing area, and then I'm going to go and show you what's going on near the polytunnel. And now for the last part of my tour. Here is the polytunnel, and if any of you were wondering where my fantastic roll top bath went, here it is outside of the polytunnel. We've also got a little pond here. We are going to add some plants and make the pond a little bit better as well. But the roll top bath is here. It does have a few alliums flowering. I've lost a lot of alliums from it because of the time of the year that we moved it, and unfortunately things didn't get planted back when they should have. But that's life and that's gardening. I have put some dahlias in there, so hopefully I'll get a nice display in summer. So I'm just going to show you what we're doing in the greenhouse now. No, it's not a greenhouse, in the polytunnel now. Now on the right hand side of the polytunnel, we have this wonderful raised bed area. My dad is super handy and builds everything. So a few years ago, he built this area. It's built on wood, pallets, and then pallet collars. And these have all been filled with compost. We do tend to add lots of new compost to these every year because it does dry out, so we have to keep it watered. My dad has made some sort of watering system that he's trialing out with one of the water butts, but we don't think we can quite get enough pressure in it to get it to work, but we'll see. I have planted some of my strawberry plants from my allotment here, and actually I was just looking, there are some turning red. I'll show you in a moment. And then we have got my elephant garlic growing really well. The scapes are starting to grow on this, so they need to be cut off. I'll do a little video about why we do that. And then in these two beds, I've sown lots of salady things like beetroot, radish, lettuce, some little mini turnips and things like that. I've sown 2 beds worth, and then in another couple of weeks we're going to be sowing another 2 beds worth, and then in another week or so we'll sow the end bed, and that way we'll hopefully get some successional crops, so I'm not trying to eat everything all at once. At the back of the polytunnel, we've got lots of compost bags and lots of things stored. I've got one of my shelving units from my Vitavere greenhouse in here now at the back. My dad's using that as a potting bench to grow his seeds and for storage, which is fantastic. And then I have got my wonderful peach and nectarine trees. I don't know if you can see that. I'll do a little close up now, but these are wonderful. But these are some wonderfully large already peaches and nectarines, so I'm super happy about how they're growing, and I'm hoping that I get a good harvest. I'm just going to show you over the other side of the polytunnel and then tell you about what's happening next. And here over on this side, my dad has built this wonderful raised planter. Now we are going to be growing courgettes, loofahs, aubergine, sweet peppers and chilies in this, and I'm going to be adding some netting to the back for the loofahs and the cucumbers to grow up. But this is a fantastic growing space. There's still room to put lots of other things, but at the moment we've got more than enough space to do everything that we want. I really hope you've enjoyed the tour of my new plot, and as you can see, I think it's looking fantastic already. I can't wait. Now, I hope you've all enjoyed the plot tour of my new space. I absolutely love it. I think it's looking fantastic. Still a long way to go with things, but I'm hoping in the summer we're going to see some lovely veggie harvest and some lovely flowers. Now, I really feel sad still that I got rid of my old allotment, but I do think I've made the right choices moving forward and doing something new. And I really hope that you stick around to see what I get up to on this channel and what I do at my allotment space. But just to let you in on another little secret, I do have another allotment space that I'm sharing with my partner, and we have some really exciting things going on there. So I can't wait to share with you all the things I'm getting up to on my allotment plots and to show you how to grow your own. So please like, share or subscribe, and I can't wait to speak to you all soon. Bye.